It's official. The transfer portal has moved to a single window in January. And if UCLA does it right, that is a huge benefit in their coaching search.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. Welcome back, everydayers. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Go check it out. In the meantime, UCLA. Man, I don't know if this is a huge thing, big thing, I don't know. But we're talking about UCLA coaching search and how the portal will impact that and what the recruiting looks like. Then we're going to look at what UCLA's snubs were in the preseason All-Big Ten team. And finally, UCLA women's basketball released some schedule and times. And there was a huge matchup that I thought I didn't even hear about. We'll talk about it all today in Locked On UCLA. So for the official report, it was Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports that I saw saying the official approval happened from the NCAA D1 Administrative Committee. Blah, blah, blah. NCAA officially approves the single transfer portal window. There's a couple of things to take note of here. UCLA, when they're looking for transfers in this upcoming offseason, it'll be January 2nd through the 16th. So we don't have to wait when it's in November or December, and there's going to be a lot more coaches, a big coaching carousel. It'd be a huge roller coaster ride as to who may or may not come to UCLA or go other places, whether it be coaching, recruits. It makes sure UCLA has plenty of time. There is no need to rush it, but there's also no need to take forever to make this hire. All right. And now, whether you're leaning Tim Skipper or you're looking somewhere else, there is no need to rush. Like, if you're trying to hire the coach the day after the UCLA game, unless you get a blockbuster, I think you've rushed it. But if you've also waited till Christmas, then I think you're taking a little bit too long there. And now, with there being no winter and spring transfer portal, means that there probably won't be a Nico situation ever again, as entertaining and crazy as it was. They're going to have to decide, these players, that if they go to this school, this is where they're sticking through. Go through spring practice. If a freshman's coming through, he's got to stay at this program if he enrolls early and not leave after spring practice if he's dissatisfied with the NIL, if he's not happy with the coaching, if he's not happy with lack of playing time. Get better. And what UCLA is trying to do is get better as a program, which they showcase they can be with the 42-37 win over Penn State. So let's live in a world right now. UCLA hires Tim Skipper, all right? We're going to go over a couple of scenarios. UCLA hires Tim Skipper. If they do that and they do it fairly quickly after the UCLA game, if he has a great campaign, obviously UCLA be trending. Whether it's Nico staying, going, leaving, transferring, doesn't matter. It's all about if they hire Skipper, and if they stick with him, that means UCLA might be able to recover some of the commits they lost in 2026 for the class of 26. That was once a top 20 class, and have ample time to showcase what's happening when they go into the transfer portal. All right. Now, the two things that are here that are changes. Players, when a coach is hired, will have a 15-day window to enter the transfer portal after a new coach is hired. All right. So what that means is, instead of there being a 30-day window when a coach is fired, like what UCLA did to Sean Foster, players have 30 days to enter the transfer portal. Now, when there's a new coach hired, all right, so it's not like you fire a coach mid-season, and then these players can all leave. They have 30 days. No, they're changing it to where the idea that you have 15 days. All right, you have 15 days to get your name in after a new coach is hired to see what the staff looks like. But you have to wait 5 days. So you can't just be like, I don't like this guy. No, that gives time for official announcements, visits, meetings between coaches, coaching staff, players. You get 5 days. You don't have to make that decision right away. So it's not a full month, but you get to wait and see how things play out over the first week as the coach prepares to make the roster. So when the new coach is hired, UCLA is going to go through another scenario where the players can all leave. whether that is Nico leading the charge or if he stays, surprisingly in my thought right now, or if any of these other players want to leave, they can do so prior to the January window when UCLA hires a new coach. So the Bruins will have had the firing of Deshaun Foster. They'll have, I think, the 15-day. I haven't seen what year that comes into place in terms of the 15-day window, but kind of reading from the Matt Zenitz, what's been posted, if I'm gathering this correctly, as soon as UCLA's hiring a new coach in this offseason, it will mean another 15-day window for the players to get to the portal. So it will be just like they had a winter portal, but now the Bruins don't have to rush this. And say it's not even Skipper. Say they take a little time and they wait to early December, where the Bruins come through and they're like, we got a guy. He's got ample time to go hit the portal, make his staff, and showcase UCLA as a destination to overhaul the roster. All right? If the Bruins are turning in the right direction, there is a world where they'll hire Tim Skipper. There's also many scenarios where it's not Tim Skipper. You can put in name a damn mullet. You can put in a Jonathan Smith, who UCLA is playing against Michigan State this week. Go swing big, whether it's Lane Kiffin or something, anybody. We're not really saying what coach they're going to hire. Anybody who comes to UCLA will have plenty of time and not just be going crazy. They can get a house or an apartment or a place to live. They can assemble a staff. They can keep the right guys. Jerry Neuheisel, put him on the next staff. Again, keep him there for another coaching hire. And then you put that together where then you can target the guys in the transfer portal and then hit the spring signing day and hope that somebody hasn't signed. You can flip all those guys. All right. So even if you miss the early high school window, you can turn to the 115-day transfer portal window where the guys are all going to transfer. All right. So there's a 15-day window in January. UCLA will have their roster potentially looking elsewhere when they hire the new guy, whether it's a few weeks before the January window or after. So there might be two chances that guys think, I don't know if I like this, or they'll like this. And then after that, all these players from mid to late January to February to March will be deciding where to go because they only have to get their names in. That's the transfer portal way. Get your name in, and then they'll decide afterwards. So if UCLA rushes this hire and does what they did with Deshaun Foster and says, we need to hire this right away to keep all the players. No, they have all the time in the world to hire the coach. These kids can't leave technically until January, until the quarter's over, until other schools, whether it's semester's over. There's no need to rush this. But if they wait so long that every good coach is hired elsewhere, then they've completely screwed this one up again. And with the momentum in their direction, after upsetting Penn State the way they did in the Rose Bowl, there's reason to believe UCLA has the talent to compete. They have everything with the resources. Just make the right hire. Make the right support, all right? Make it happen. And if UCLA wants to pivot in their coaching search, whether it means break up the committee, get rid of the AD, because we saw if you're at the Rose Bowl, the fire Martin Jarman banners, right? If you want to change it, you have so much time to make sure, hey, we can go with this searching committee, or you can go look at another program, hire a general manager, and make him a big part of this decision, or as UCLA is doing a think tank committee with the Bob Myers of the world and, the Casey Wassermans of the world, in addition to a couple more. Then you bring in whoever, then UCLA has plenty of time to fix the portal. And if there was a time to be going through an offseason search, this is now the perfect time that they've switched the window for UCLA to not have to scramble so quickly to get a guy that as soon as the last game's over, that they can just put their name in the transfer. No. Or that's going to happen in December and the guy's got no time to talk to these players. They have until January. You can enjoy the Rose Bowl game. You can enjoy the first couple of rounds of the CFP, and then everybody's going to leave. All right. So this means that the CFP will hopefully be a little more interesting without players transferring in the first couple of rounds. At least until the national title game, and then a guy can wait around. You've got plenty of time, and this helps out in the playoffs. It helps out, obviously, for UCLA, and it means that the Bruins, according to this other parts, will possibly have two more windows with their players to leave in January and when they hire the new coach, whether it's removing the interim tag or getting a new guy, new regime completely. That's how it could help UCLA. They've got time. Now make the right hire, which we'll continue to document on this show. Speaking about making the right choice, I think the media members of the Big Ten in the preseason men's basketball all Big Ten lineup made huge selections in the wrong direction. They snubbed the Bruins. Who? Let's talk about it next on Locked On UCLA. One of the tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly known as OpenPhone. The same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, it's just got a new name, and this is why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table for your business. Every customer conversation counts. You need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo, that is the number one business phone system that streamlines customer communications and works right through an app, phone, computer. So no more carrying two phones or relying on a landline. You can collaborate with your team with one number on the calls and the texts and the share inbox. So there's no customer that gets left hanging, literally. That's why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started free and with 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/LockedOnCollege. That's QUO.com/LockedOnCollege. If you got any existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over, no extra charge, no missed calls. With Quo, no missed customers. This is where the Big Ten screwed up. UCLA only getting one player on the Big Ten all preseason Big Ten team, on the preseason all Big Ten team. UCLA had one selection. It's fairly obvious who it was, and I still think Donovan Dent wasn't respected enough. One of the best transfer options, right? You have Yaxel Lendenberg, who transferred over to Michigan. All right, he was preseason all Big Ten team. Cool. You have Braden Smith. He's the preseason Big Ten Player of the Year. But how is the likes of Donovan Dent not in a unanimous selection? Only one player was a unanimous selection in this all Big Ten team in the preseason. That was Braden Smith, who is for the second consecutive year, preseason Player of the Year. Third straight year, a Boilermaker has been the preseason Player of the Year at Purdue. All right, fair enough. They're going to be the favorites. Cool. But for UCLA, how is Donovan Dent, the guy who is the premier engine that's going to get UCLA started with big-time Big Ten title hopes, national contending hopes, to go deep in the tournament in this year for McCrone, which is a pivotal year for the program, with all these guys, seniors, a couple of upperclassmen who are ready to get this team to the next level and competing for a national championship one more time. How Donovan Dent isn't unanimous is ridiculous in my mind. But let's go beyond, because Dent is on the list. Maybe it was one guy, maybe not. I don't know. Dent should be unanimous. The two names that stick out to me for guys who do not get love, you had Tyler Bilodeau, who was a part of this Big Ten postseason roster, right? You had the all Big Ten team. I think he was third last year. Of course, it's a more expansive list when the official team list comes out, first, second, third, and the honorable mentions. Bilodeau is on that list. For him not to be on this list, I think is absolutely ridiculous. You've got Purdue with multiple players, Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman, Wren. Absolutely agree with that. You have Oregon with Nate Biddle and Jackson Shellstad. Okay, I think Bilodeau could make something happen against Biddle. There's Bennett Sturts for Iowa, Yaxel Lendenberg, Nick Martinelli, Bruce Thornton, and John Blackwell Jr. Who is a junior for Wisconsin. All right. How is UCLA not getting more love than Oregon? They beat Oregon twice last year. They had the same guys who carved up the Ducks last year, like an Eric Daly Jr. And I know Biddle's big, and you technically need a center or whatever, but like Bilodeau played a small ball five. Why can't he get that love? It's mind-boggling to me that Bilodeau, who was in a postseason accolade last year for the Big Ten, was balling out for the Bruins, is not respected enough in the Big Ten. Clear snub. And then Eric Daly Jr., who's on the rise, who dominated Oregon, whether it's Jackson Shellstad or Biddle, to the tune of 80% shooting from the field and from three, over 20 points per game, including dominance for UC. I just don't understand where he is missed out potentially as a dark horse for this. If you're putting Biddle on this list, you could have given Bilodeau a look. Like, really. Cool. I know Biddle has some numbers, but go ask Spencer, right? Biddle's awesome. He's going to make Oregon good. Jackson Shellstad missing the early part of the season for Oregon's going to hurt the Ducks' reputation. They'll lean on Biddle. He'll get a lot of numbers. But when it comes to Big Ten play, when the Bruins go play Oregon early in the year, let's go see what Eric Daly Jr. does for the third consecutive game. Will he shoot 80%? With a, dominant 20 to 25 point display. Last year, you know who won the Big Ten? That was Michigan State. You know who scored the game winner for UCLA against Michigan State? Eric Daly Jr. Now, maybe it's the consistency that wasn't there statistically, but if you want to gamble on somebody, I would think, all right, let's get some Eric Daly Jr. in that list. Or if you're saying the guy who was consistent the whole year, Tyler Bilodeau, is not capable, I'm not sure why he's not on that list. I know Maryland's got a complete overhaul. You're looking at a lot of changes at USC, Washington, quite a few teams not even represented. Obviously, Rutgers with their 2 fab freshmen gone to the NBA, they won't have any respect in the preseason. So that's why I'm thinking if UCLA is a top 2 or 3 team in this conference, you've got Purdue with a couple on there. You've got Michigan with one of their guys. UCLA has another guy capable, whether it's Daly Jr. or the likes of Bilodeau, who is very consistent for the most part for UCLA in the last year. Now, if I'm looking at this list, it's about 6 to 10 players, about 10-player list. I know that's tough. You have 18 teams, and if you took the best player from every team, you'd still have 8 players not represented or 8 teams not represented. But here's what I'm going to tell you. UCLA is better than those 8 teams that don't have players represented. They're better than the teams who aren't even represented. Right now, you have an Iowa, Michigan, Northwestern, Ohio State, Oregon, Purdue, UCLA, Wisconsin. That's 8 teams. There's 10 teams who aren't represented. UCLA is more deserving than the Oregon. What better players? Jackson Shelstead, I do believe, does belong on this list. But come on. Donovan Dent needs unanimous selection. He needs unanimous love. He's a conference player of the year, and he's about ready to dominate for UCLA for an entire season in the Big Ten. If he stays healthy this entire year, UCLA has a chance to be top 5 good and go into these road arenas that will be packed just because the Bruins are extremely relevant. Not just because of the brand, but with the brand and the ability to be challenging for a top 3 seed in the NCAA tournament before they ruin it and expand it to 90 billion teams. That's what I got to say. I mean, UCLA still not getting respect. That's what happens when you're a three-way tie for a bye when you're complaining about the schedule. This year, UCLA helped out a little bit by the Big Ten schedule, where they get more consistency, usually a Saturday to Tuesday. Nothing too crazy. An occasional Wednesday. I think there's a couple of trips that the Bruins could have been a little different when it comes to organizing the Big Ten scheduling overall. Yet I do think UCLA has a schedule with limited extreme East Coast trips, right? They're not doing that in the non-conference. They're not doing it the Rutgers, Maryland trip. They have limited travel in terms of fully across the coast to coast. And I think that UCLA will have at least 2 in the first team All Big Ten. At least 2. Look at this list. 2. Outside chance, they dominate enough with 3. And I do think Donovan Dent will challenge Braden Smith for Big Ten Player of the Year. I've already had it said I think he could beat Braden Smith for Player of the Year. It might be a close race. It might be splitting hairs. Braden Smith is a really good basketball player. But we're about to watch what Donovan Dent's going to do. The transformation and position switches for Bilodeau and Daly that can help upgrade this team to the next level. With all the other pieces around them, that could easily be all Big Ten honorees, whether it be in the third team, honorable mention, defensive teams. There's going to be so many UCLA Bruins represented when this list is updated by the season's end. We're going to be like, why wasn't this guy thought about for the 10-team list earlier? All right. We'll talk about that when that time comes. But I do think the Bruins are snubbed, and we'll see whether they're officially picked in the preseason poll when those are all officially released. I think UCLA is about a third-place preseason finish, right around where they should finish actually this year. Next, we're going to talk about the sneaky schedule that the UCLA women and Corey Close have compiled. At least 4 or 5 top 10 matchups, including one that's game 2 that snuck under the radar. How did this game not get talked about? We'll talk about it next on Locked On UCLA. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet the $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. Bet just $5, pick a bet, put it down, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And I love how FanDuel gives you so many ways to play, whether it's the parlays you can build, the player props, or even following the live lines during the game. If you looked at the UCLA Penn State game, UCLA, there was a line I saw about -5.5. If you went and actually picked Penn State to think that they'd come back, you would have hit. If you said UCLA minus or plus a bunch, you would have gotten a hit. And if you hedged it a little bit and said Penn State's going to come back, you would have hit both times. Think about that. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Cruising on, final segment. We're talking the UCLA women's basketball team, a team who, looking at the preseason top 25, I'm looking at ESPN's right now. This is where UCLA is in the preseason top 25. I think they should be number 1 or 2. Right now, it's UConn, South Carolina, and then UCLA. Meanwhile, the men's team released the game times. The women's team updated their schedule with a matchup that kind of came out of nowhere in my eyes. Maybe I'm just blinded. Maybe I never saw it. Maybe I just missed it. I don't know, or this was officially announced. UCLA women's basketball, they are playing Oklahoma in their second game. They get San Diego State at the Honda Center, and then that next Monday, according to the schedule, I think there's going to be a few more games updated to the schedule. I think there's a Vegas trip that's missing too. UCLA plays San Diego State in the Honda Center in November, and they'll go to the Golden One Center in Sacramento for a quick trip to take on Oklahoma and Aaliyah Chavez. And I was reading the ESPN top 10 list, all right? These are names to remember. UConn is number 1. Defending champs. They returned Sarah Strong. They got the incoming transfer of Sarah Williams. Huge, all right? Huge. They're going to be the preseason favorites. Even though Paige Beckers is gone, they will be a team that is looking to dominate, I think. So when UCLA hopefully faces them in the NCAA tournament for redemption, the Bruins can be ready. They're not on the schedule. South Carolina is a preseason number 2. If UCLA, when they play in Vegas on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving Day for the Women's Players Era Festival tournament, first one for the women in Vegas, then the Bruins are going to play, they're playing Texas first. And if they win, they're going to play either South Carolina or Duke. Both those teams are in the top 25. UCLA's day before Thanksgiving matchup is number 4 Texas. And your next day, you might play number 2 South Carolina. So currently, this is how the schedule works. I think there might be some games in between the 15-day layoff currently. I forget where the schedules work. But how it looks right now, you have Oklahoma, who in the preseason top 25, looking at ESPN's, has Oklahoma number 6. A team that didn't have a transfer, but they do have the number 1 player in the country in this most recent recruiting class, Aaliyah Chavez, who I think looked at UCLA, had USC around there, but eventually chose Oklahoma. So they have one of the top-rated freshmen coming in. UCLA plays Oklahoma in Game 2. Game 2 in a neutral site. At least it's in California, but that's huge for the Bruins. Later on this year, they'll have, yes, Texas, either South Carolina or Oklahoma. And then after they return from Vegas, November 30th, a Sunday afternoon, at the moment, this may be their home opener. I'm not sure if this schedule will be updated, but the first listed home game on the official schedule on the website for UCLA Athletics has UCLA playing Tennessee. The return of Janiah Barker in a top 7 matchup. And remember, Tennessee without Barker was the last team to beat UConn last year, and they beat them pretty good. Although it was in Knoxville, UCLA is hosting a top 10 Tennessee team. So in the span of 3 games, you're going to be playing number 4 Texas, either number 2 or number 9 in the country, South Carolina or Duke, depending if you win or lose. And then you're going to face off against Tennessee. That is a 3-game span. And if the schedule's not updated, if there's no game in between the Oklahoma and the Thanksgiving games, which I do think there will be, then you might have 4 top 10 matchups. You are going to have 4 top 10 matchups in your first 2 to 3 weeks of the season in the month of November. This is what makes this sport so great. These teams challenge each other, and they'll play a true home and home, or they'll play the Thanksgiving tournaments. The UCLA women and Corey Close are not afraid. They have the best player in the country in Lauren Betts. They have one of the best incoming transfers in Gianna Neekins. People forget about Charlize Ledger-Walker, who is coming off the injury. She was one of the best transfers from a year ago. A solid point guard in Kiki Rice. Don't forget about Gabriela Jaquez, who helped UCLA to victory in the Big Ten tournament game, tournament championship game. Oh, yeah, what else? Oh, Tamia Gardner, who just splashed threes against LSU. This team is stacked. And, oh, by the way, Sienna Betts, one of the top recruits in the country, coming to UCLA. Yes, I know Leah Chavez gets a lot of love, but Sienna Betts is going to help bring the Bruins some depth in the post, give Lauren Betts some rest, and not have to have a decline in play if she's off the court. Imagine that. Somebody who can give your player some rest, your top player, and still maybe be an upgrade. I don't even know. We'll see how Sienna Betts plays in her true freshman campaign. And while there's more talent in a compact setting, less depth overall, but hopefully a lot less egos creating chaos behind the scenes. You look at that, you mix in a Big Ten matchup later in the year against Maryland. UCLA has, according to the top 10, UCLA's in it. So there's 9 teams in the top 10 that UCLA could be overall because they're in the top 10. UCLA is going to face at least 5 of them this year. At least 5. And if USC was a healthy Juju Watkins, obviously she already announced she's gone, they would be facing 5 to 6 teams in the top 10 this year. That is an absolutely loaded schedule. We'll know right away if UCLA is dominant. And now that we had the schedule put in front of them with the Tennessees of the world, the South Carolinas, the Texases, and the Oklahomas with one of the best recruits, although it's early, so I think it's good for UCLA to hopefully knock Oklahoma off early. That is one that could put the Bruins clear number one if they win some of these matchups like they did against South Carolina last year when they dominated the Gamecocks. The Bruins were a clear number one for the majority of the season. And the dominance in non-conference play showcased UCLA was the number one overall seed heading into the NCAA tournament. If they want an easier path, hosting in the first round, avoid some tricky Sweet 16 and Elite 8 matchups, you have to be the number one overall seed and win these matchups. Maybe one, but you drop one, you want to win all those, especially against the teams that took the UCLA players in the transfer portal to make their Big Ten teams better, or in Tennessee's case, made the Lady Volunteers better. Crazy schedule for UCLA. We'll talk more about it in the future, in the weeks to come, dissecting it a little more. But for now, that has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Get your hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.